Q&A session with the Buddha, Part 3, by Venerable Rungruan Papa Saro, Dr. Rungruan Lim Chu Patapa. The continuation from the previous video. The Part 2 of the scripture of the story of 16 scholars questioning to the Buddha is as follows. The ninth scholar's questions, the importance of the cessations of sensual pleasure at craving, existence, of self, at clinging, and doubt at ignorance. Question.
What do you mean by the cessations of sensual pleasure at craving, existence at clinging, and doubt at ignorance?
Answer.
There are three kinds of taints, namely the taint of sensual pleasure, the taint of existence, and the taint of ignorance. On the day of Buddha enlightenment, the Buddha enlightened a wisdom for the cessations of taints, that is, the cessations of sensual pleasure at craving, existence, of self, at clinging, and doubt at ignorance, respectively. In short, by realizing that each part of the process of dependent origination is impermanent, deteriorating, and no self, then the mind will not cling on the object of consciousness in relation to the five aggregates of being. Thus this is the cessation of existence at clinging. When the mind has nothing to be relied on or to be based on any longer, thus this is the cessation of doubt at ignorance. And finally, the mind will dispassionate to the world. Thus this is the cessation of sensual pleasure at craving.
Question.
How can we know if this is the real wisdom, or not?
Answer.
The real wisdom is the knowledge that will liberate the mind from any attachment to any desire and lust for sensual pleasure at craving, existence, of self, at clinging, and doubt at ignorance.
The 10th scholar's questions. Question.
Please tell me what I should study in order to make an end of suffering in life?
Answer.
You must have a mindfulness at all times, then performing an inside observation to gain wisdom for the cessations of all the finest defilement, including the sensual pleasure at craving, the existence, of self, at clinging, and doubt at ignorance. Then the mind is liberated, and making an end of suffering in life.
The 11th scholar's questions. Question.
Please tell me how we can reach a final achievement in Buddhism of the Nirvana.
Seems to be a similar question of the 7th scholar, but the focus is on the process of dependent origination. Answer.
You have to purify the mind from craving, clinging, and ignorance in the process of dependent origination so that all defilements in the families of greed, hatred, and delusion will be completely eliminated, and then the mind will be liberated.
The 12th scholar's questions. Question.
Please tell me, when there is an arising defilement, how can we abandon it?
Answer.
In the process of dependent origination, craving causes clinging, clinging causes ignorance, and ignorance causes wrong volitional formations that eventually causes craving in a new round of the process of dependent origination. This is a problematic loop of round and round of the problem of dependent origination, then causing an arising defilement within the mind, and in order to terminate this evil loop, we must have a mindfulness to monitor the mind condition at all times, and when detecting any arising defilement, then incorporating the mindfulness with wisdom of Dharma to abandon an arising defilement, and rerouting the mind processing. And then the mind will be liberated no matter of whatsoever happening in the past, in the present, and even in the future.
The 13th scholar's questions, problem at ignorance. Question.
Please tell me how we can stop problem at ignorance.
Answer.
First, we have to clearly understand an ignorance. An ignorance is the problem of not knowing the truths of life within nature, that whatsoever happening in the mind processing is just a natural process within the law of nature. Therefore each of them is no self. However, when the mind assumes that there is a self to be involved with whatsoever happening, then the problem is aggravated by volitional formations during mind processing, causing all kinds of suffering in life. In order to correct this ignorance, we must have a purified mindfulness performing an inside observation to contemplate on the reality of the object of consciousness, and then gaining insight wisdom that whatsoever happening in the mind processing is no self, and then the mind will have nothing to cling on with any latent disposition in volitional formations. As a result, there is no taint, and the mind is liberated by wisdom at the ignorance of the process of dependent origination.
Question.
In thinking, why do we always think of something or someone all the times, and how we can stop thinking so that a mind can be clear up from any disturbing noise?
Answer.
First, we have to understand what a thing is. Thinking is just a part of mind processing. Since the mind will always contact with something or someone in the world through the six sense bases, and then making a feeling. Some of them makes us feel happy and joyful, but some make us feel pain and misery. It is very common for uninstructed cognition person to assume a self to absorb this feeling, and when experiencing with happiness, they will desire for it, and the more they demand for it, it will never be satisfied, then causing disturbing mind. On the contrary, when experiencing with pain, they will try to expel it, and the more they forget it, the mind somehow keep on thinking of it, then causing disturbing mind as well. Eventually, when being dissatisfied with something or someone, then you will feel depressive thinking of something or someone in the past, and feel anxious of thinking of something or someone in the future. Both the depression and the anxiety more or less will disturb the mind at all times. You can see that thinking is a natural process which is beyond anyone's control. As a matter of fact, thinking or the volitional formation is no self. And the way to stop this kind of troubling mind is done by having a mindfulness at the present moment. Then the mind will abandon both the depression and anxiety at the same time.
Question.
When the mind is thinking, then how the mindfulness can stop the mind from thinking?
Answer.
By having a mindfulness at the present moment, the mind will shift from whatsoever thinking in the past or the future to focus only on what is happening at this moment. And by having a mindfulness incorporated with wisdom at the present moment, so we can realize that whatsoever is happening right now is really impermanent, deteriorating, and no self, then the mind will not attach to whatsoever is happening at the present moment, and then the mind will be liberated. By doing so, the mind completely stops thinking.
The 14th scholar's questions, a Buddhist practice. Question.
In performing the meditation when reaching into the deep absorption, then what we should do next?
Answer.
In the Buddhist practice, after dwelling into an inner mind reaching an absorption with mindfulness, then develop a special quality of purified mindfulness, then using this purified mindfulness to perform an insight observation to see the object of consciousness, as it really is. Then you can find that it is impermanent, deteriorating, and no self. Then apply the Four Noble Truths to contemplate on it to gain wisdom of the truths of life within nature.
The 15th scholar's questions. Question.
How can I attain the nirvana?
Answer.
You must perform a Buddhist practice, and performing an insight observation to gain wisdom, and then having a mindfulness incorporated with wisdom to realize that the world is no self.
The 16th scholar's questions. Question.
I am quite an old person, so may I have a quick, shortcut guideline to practice?
Answer.
Yes, you may have a mindfulness with an emptiness perception, and then do not bother with the world.